Well, thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to delve into the newspapers and more. We'll be joined. There's that latest release from them concerning an action tomorrow. And the fact that if the teachers don't go back soon, the schools are going to shut down. It's going to affect them and their parents and the larger society. We'll be hearing from them as well. Well, let's start. It says, Asantehene deserves gold coin honor. That's according to His Excellency, the President. And there's deeper engagement required on e-levy. That's on page 16. So as Parliament reconvenes, the question is the August House going to be able to sort of any fighting and come to an amicable solution? Last week, they were not able to do so. And the minority side was basically saying that we don't need to be talked at. We need to be interacted with. And government ought to be willing to listen, not just tell us what they think ought to be the case. There has been that town hall and some sort of engagement. But what do we feel in the larger society? Honestly, well, most people, if they had the opportunity, wouldn't want to have an e-levy. But later on the show, we're going to be giving you a breakdown of what exactly to expect on this. So look forward to that one. We'll break it down and let you know what dynamics exactly come to play when it comes to the e-levy. So we'll be getting... So on with the daily graphic, maybe just to give you some snippets of that conversation. Deeper engagement required on e-levy, Spiogabra advocates. And a former Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Ekos Spiogabra, has called on government to deepen consultations on the proposed electronic levy, that is the e-levy, to allow for its higher need of funds to run the country. Deliberate nationwide consultations would help it better gauge the stance of the people, which would inform its final decision. He recalled the 1995 attempt by the Rawlings regime to introduce the value-added tax, which I've spoken at the time, to withdraw the bill and begin deeper consultations across the country. An exercise which lasted 18 months, a year and a half. Mr. Spiogabra, who was the Minister of Communications at the time, indicated he led the nationwide consultations. Of course, we know that after a while, they were able to get the VAT back on track. And now we're looking at something hovering around 17%. So that is what will solve the question. Broader consultations, why didn't we do that before even coming to the floor of Parliament with any idea of an e-levy? I mean, you consult before you come forward with ideas, especially when you have a hung parliament. 137 apiece, and one independent member who, of course, has joined the majority caucus to give them that majority. So there are so many questions to be asked. What sort of consultation went into this whole e-levy banter? We've seen it in other countries. Uganda is doing it. Tanzania is doing it. Kenya is doing it. But my concern here is that, and I'm sharing my effusions, pardon me, but my concern here is that these countries are taxing the service tax. I don't know whether you get me. So the 1%, for example, that is taxed, right? Like if it's 1%, then maybe the administration would take a 10% on the 1%. But in this instance, we have, that is why some people have called it a retrogressive tax or double taxation. You have the 1% standing, and the 1% could be 2% depending on whether you want the person who is receiving the money not to pay. So 1% in as the service charge, 1% out for the person not to pay, and then you have an additional 1.5 or 1.75. That is the context we're missing. And we need to put it into that proper perspective. How will the cookie crumble? We've heard the finance minister say it could be disastrous for us, economically speaking, if we don't let the e-levy pass through. But there are so many questions. If you watched that editorial with my colleague, Araba Kumsin, you would have noticed that that isn't exactly the case. We're looking at less than $7 billion out of our total package of 105 billion cedis, actually. 6.9 billion Ghana cedis out of what? The kitty of about 100.5 billion Ghana cedis. That's our budget. So are we saying that without this, our economy will come to its knees? And look at it holistically. We've lost 12 billion to wastage, according to the Auditor Generals, and it goes as high as we. But it is what it is. Anyway, so we'll get into the details of these conversations later on the show. Look forward to that one as we break it down for you. How to make a Piazza support fund successful. And there are so many ideas here. One of those from Samuel Amegaibo, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. Interesting thoughts being shared here. If you want the details, go to page 17 of the paper. But this just brings to mind, I heard a few things from Kwame A. Plus in recent, and that we get the right reports from Apiate, and that the right compensations are given the people, and that if any elements are trying to influence anything, then we prevent those. 5 e-blocks ready for use, 16 already completed, 10 more STEM schools under construction. That's according to Education Minister. He was speaking over the weekend, and he spoke about the fact that, well, when it comes to the e-blocks, like the one in Domi, is in the bushes and all of that. But when he mentioned that, I sort of concurred with him, but in a way I disagreed. Why? Education must go further. So if we say that there's no electricity in a certain place, the question is why in the 21st century should we even have places in our country which don't have electricity? 21st century Ghana, health facilities, health posts are available. So not necessarily a no-brainer, but I don't know. Well, I'm not in government, and I'm not, frankly, not interested in being in government. We are those who give push and have the technocrats and those at the helm of affairs do the right thing. Burkina Faso suspended from all ECOWAS institutions, and that is ECOWAS. Later on today, when we have an interaction with Colonel Festus Abwaje, I would like to find out, countries are doing their own things anyway, and the coup d'etats, the putches keep on happening. For me, the worry, and which is what I'll focus on extensively when I speak to Colonel Festus Abwaje, the blueprint is there across the West African sub-region, even in Ghana. The same things that are making people, no one wants a putsch. Definitely not in this country. Definitely not. It's a no-brainer. I've seen wars in my life, lived through them, and you don't want to experience that. But the point is, the Arab Spring, it took one person lighting himself on fire, owing to the circumstances at the time, and it caught on like fire. So when Colonel Festus Abwaje says the blueprint is still here, the very same things, corruption, failure to deliver the goods to the people, and all of that, they are here, right here too. So as we look at our neighbors' beards that are on fire, the state and government of the Economic Community of West African States has suspended Burkina Faso from all ECOWAS institutions and demanded the immediate release and protection of former president of Burkina Faso, President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore, and all other political detainees. It also demanded the immediate restoration of constitutional order. And that is still the daily graphic, just to wrap with the Sante Kotoko fans, so you can't fault me, can you? Kotoko's Cameroonian forward Frank Thierry Etugambela increased his goal tally to 8 in 10 matches. Imagine that. After scoring a brace against Accra Great Olympics, Oli Gbogbo. But this one, Oli couldn't do the do. And this was at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium in Kumasi last Friday. So Kotoko at the summit of the league with 26. Let me see where Accra Hearts of Oak is. 5th with 23 points. Not bad. Not bad. A 10-point gap. Let's move on to our next paper this morning. I want to quickly do the Ghanaian Times newspaper. And it says only 293 staff members resigned in 2021. GES debunks 44,000 resignation service. Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwah has debunked claims that more than 40,000 people resigned from the service last year. According to him, only 293 staff members resigned from the service in 2021, a figure which was in sharp contrast with the 44,000 being bandied around by the Member of Parliament for the Bolsa South constituency, Dr. Clement Park. And Ghanaian Times, the expression is bandied about or around, not bundled around. That's a different thing altogether. Anyway, who's the editor of the paper anyway? Well, 51 victims of 57,510 Ghana cedis and death sentences for UN experts' murder in DR Congo. If you've listened to the BBC, you would have followed that story as well. Elevy showdown in Parliament as bill returns to plenary this week. How is it going to pan out? We'll be bringing you some details of that. Most of the other stories, Cameroon, yeah, they run roughshod over their opponents. But I guess the highlight was Morocco versus Egypt. And people were saying, well, Egypt has 7 already. Why are they still clamoring for more? But it was interesting, that first penalty for Morocco in the first 7 minutes. And then, you know, with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. But let's have a bit of an interaction, as promised, with some students of the universities across the country, the University of Ghana. They're going to be sharing their thoughts on a planned, well, I don't know, the UTAG strike, how it's affecting them. We're joined by Kofi George Abwa. He is National Coordinating Secretary, University Students Association of Ghana. A very good morning to you, Kofi.
Yeah, good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you. What have you been up to?
You said?
What have you been up to? You said it had been a long night. I'm asking, what have you been up to?
Yeah, we are planning on a lot of things, and you see, with our in affairs on various 15 campuses, university campuses, especially with the public ones that are affected at the moment.
Right.
Because section give us the opportunity to coordinate both that of the public and that of the private, where the focus is on now.
Okay, so we're focusing on the public universities. Makes sense. After all, the employer in this instance, when we talk of the strike, is government, and it has to do with public institutions. But what exactly is the crux of the matter for you? We're approaching the point where public institutions are going to shut within this period.
Okay, thank you very much. So when the strike began, that was last 3 weeks Monday, we as executives, we had to divide ourselves to do the monitoring. So like I back to the central region to Cape Coast and back to Accra here, UG. What we realized was that with the first week, because the freshers were now moving in, our students didn't really see the heat or the repercussions of the strike, because that was when students were now settling. They were now delved into the second week of the academic calendar, was when students realized that we need to do something about it, especially we, the national student leaders, because we even know the course materials needed for the semester. And it's a very big blow to the level hundreds. So we started engaging all relevant stakeholders involving UTAG. We had a meeting with the National UTAG Secretariat. We had a meeting preview to us, and we getting to understand the baseline of the issue. It simply boils down to the fact that two powers are fighting, that is government and UTAG. We all know how doctors, lecturers that teach lawyers, lecturers that even teach journalists and other professions. So it boils down to the fact that we, the students, the university students, are suffering. Why do I say that? Now, as we speak, you know that UTAG is to face NLC with a legal suit on Thursday. They are meeting at court on Thursday. They are mostly affected. They've paid exorbitant fees. They've paid huge sums of money as their hostel and hall fees. So the bad side of the repercussions falls on the students, but not government nor UTAG.
Right. So I guess it unfortunate, because at the end of the day, it appears the focus is on the lecturers, when in actual fact, those who are really suffering are the students. But I want to find out from you. Lankra also says, but it is unfair to them, the students, because the employer, being government, is paying UTAG whatever is back. We've seen the sort of interactions the lecturers have said. From where you sit, do you think the UTAG members are being unfair to government, or do you feel it is justified, the stance they've adopted, that we've been through this for years and now we can't take it anymore? Where do you stand?
That has engaged me. I am very firm on my position. And for me, I believe that government has been unfair and insensitive to the grievances of lecturers. Why do I even say that? I assumed office in June 2021. Just in August, UTAG commenced, like, just after 2 months into office at the National Secretariat, I'm now handling issues of strike. So I remember clearly at that moment when we engaged the Ministry of Education, we engaged UTAG, we kept on begging the lecturers, we kept on to address the issue, and we had a positive response. They called off the strike. We were very happy because already it was affecting the academic calendar of students at then. Students had to graduate late, students had to. So with them, they had promises from government, which I feel it was so genuine. regarding their interim market premium, regarding the single spine pay policy, regarding their research and book allowance. And I believe every professional is due to fight for his or her conditions of service. I am a medical personnel who addressed that issue. And it was so unfortunate that recently, that's 3 weeks ago, they are embarking on a strike again. They are still in strike. And to understand the issues, it's 2024. I believe you have the document that states where they signed an MOU with governments and other specific stakeholders, including NLC and Fairways and Salaries Commission, which stated that their book and research allowance in 2024. So lecturers feel that governments seen as politicians are still playing dilly-dally with their demands.
Right. So from where their actions are also affecting you, the students, the student body. And what it means when the 21 days come full circle is that the schools are going to shut down. The sums of money you've paid to be in school is going to be wasted to some extent, bearing the brunt of their actions. Now, moving forward, what would you like to see before the 21-day window shuts? What would you like to see? What is your call on government?
Okay, thank you. I think this morning, Joy News will be the only, and in our presser, that is, I'm speaking on behalf of Coalition of Concerned University Students, which I double up to be their lead convener. As I speak authoritatively that this week and all necessary.
When this week? Can you give us some specifics? When this week?
Yeah, please. It will be communicated shortly. As I speak with you, we have approval from the Accra Regional Command, Ghana Police. It will be university students will release a communique to give details on the demonstration they are embarking on.
Right.
Yes, please.
All right, Kofi, thank you for engaging us this morning and giving us the scoop. And we wish you the very best. Hopefully, there is some remedy to this situation before it takes another wicked turn. Wicked in quotes, wicked meaning that it's going to have quite an impact on you, the students. But thank you very much for joining the conversation. I got Abuabo Market in Tamale. Don't we have too many fires in this country? And of course, when it comes to even the logistics of it, the fire service and all of that, people complain often that they go there without the necessary, water in there. But they will also tell you they need those. What do you even call those? Those stationary bits where they can. It's a whole mess. But we seem to have too many fires, and now the latest being the Abuabo Market in Tamale. The Odona Market has been put up again. In fact, when the last fire hit, I went there to cover the situation. It's been what, a year plus? We've rehabilitated the market to prevent another occurrence. I'm not a prophet of doom, but if we keep doing the same wrong things, we'll keep getting the same wrong or bad results. And that was a fire hydrant. Thank you, Gomez, my director, telling me there. Fire hydrant, that's the word I was looking for. In the Daily Guide newspaper, Magdan Group inaugurates first private jet lounge at KIA. I'm just going to leave this matter out in that statement, asking for the inauguration to go back. So who is in charge of the airport, the terminals and all of that? Is it the Ghana Airport Company Limited? I pose the question because the letter appeared almost as though their hands were tied. They were fettered. But I don't want to believe that anyone can take up a matter and do what he or she pleases. So what exactly happened here? Move, which is expected to solidify Ghana's aviation industry. Of course, a thumbs up to it. It's a businessman, our very own, making strides. But I am concerned about the processes. It's not just about the outcomes. Were the right things done? The Finder newspaper. NPP to elect national executives from July 14 to 16, that's according to John Wedu. Reverse losses to profit making. President tells head. Well, Mr. President, merely telling them will not resolve the matter. Let the axe fall, and believe you me, people will do the right thing. Oh, go ahead, and we want you to work. It doesn't work anywhere. People must see the right things being done, or they must be pushed to do it. There's 25 out of 50 bridges financed by Czech Republic ready by end of March. And In other stories here, we have MPA Chief Executive visits Kenya's Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. We'll be wrapping up shortly. Let's take a few more papers. The Ghanaian Publisher newspaper, NPP elects national officers in July, and Akufo-Addo applauds Asabi's leadership at SIGA, of course. There's also that story about MacDan. I'm skipping some of the papers or going through them rapidly because it's the same stories in them. The Custodian, there is the transformation of pharmacy practice in Tamale Teaching Hospital. That's the Health Digest, and that is on page 4. The Daily Statesman now, new Ghana Post MD pursues aggressive marketing. And of course, we've all heard of Bice Osei-Kuffour, aka Obuo. Development Bank Ghana takes off. Government names 7-member board as CEO. And then Dr. Ofei-Agyeman expresses massive support for E-Levy. You can check out details of that on page 4. The final paper will wrap with the BNFT. $540 million lost in 6 years through undervaluation of cocoa. It appears on all fronts in this country, whether it's the black gold, our oil, whether it's the other extractive industries, the gold, the diamonds, and all of that. What we can earn, we can't earn. Even our rosewood, which should have a ban, is being exploited for private purposes. See E-Levy as means of sustaining economic growth. That's according to Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. But right back at you, Mr. Finance Minister. We would want to pay more in terms of levies and taxes if we were going to see more. You know, I've seen the breakdown of what we are expecting to do, what percentages we are hoping to pump into roads, for example, and other infrastructure. But what are the guarantees that if we go ahead with this as a nation, we're going to see those percentages actually apportioned to those bits and that we're going to see the impact? You see, that's the problem of many people. It's not a refusal, flat refusal to want to pay a levy or pay a tax. Every country thrives on taxes. Well, what are we getting from our taxes? Well, Ghana for, this is how we'll wrap it up on the news review. But stay with us because when we return, it's the big stories. E-Levy, UTAG and what is happening, and other related matters. Do stay with us on the AM show. We'll be back.